All right, problem number 3. This one is, I did not include all the steps on the bottom here because, as you know, if you're looking at your quarter review guide, there are lots of bullet points with this to help you get through it. I know my students struggle with inequalities. We can solve inequalities like champs, but I know a lot of you struggle when it comes to a word problem, putting it into an inequality and then solving it. That is difficult. So I included on your guide a lot of steps to help you walk you through that. I didn't put it up here on my screen, so because it would have monopolized my screen and I wouldn't have had any space to write. So please make sure if you're watching this and you are struggling with it, make sure that you are following the steps on your guide along with me so that you know what I'm doing, even though I'm going to talk you through it. So I don't know if I told you, but thank you for watching these. It is not easy to stand in front of a camera and do this. I don't even watch them myself because I don't like watching it, but I am so thankful that you are taking your education in your own hands and watching them. That's important. So with that said, here we go. Mary has $72 to purchase a tennis racket and some tennis balls. The cost of a tennis racket is going to be $21, and each pack of tennis balls is $4. They want us to write, solve, and graph an inequality to represent the amount of tennis balls that Mary can purchase. So my students, at least, I feel that it's important to set up your inequality first by looking at what's the total amount, whether it's the total amount somebody can spend, the total amount of people that can come, what is it that they gave us that is the maximum amount, or some kind of total that the problem is talking about. So in this case, Mary has $72 to purchase the racket and the tennis balls. So that's the most amount of money that she can spend. So once you identify the greatest amount of money or the total money, you're going to set that up on the far right side of your inequality. Next, you want to identify your variable. So what I mean by identify your variable is most of you use X, and that's fine. I think that's the way we did it together in class. But when I say identify, I mean figure out in your problem what it is that they're asking you to find. What do you not know? Your variable is representing something you don't know, so make sure that when you're writing your inequality, you understand what it is you don't know that you're trying to solve for. So in this case, they want us to write, solve, and graph an inequality to represent the amount of tennis balls. So X is going to be the amount of tennis balls. So I'm going to come on the left side of my inequality, and X is the number of tennis balls. And then what is being multiplied by X? How much am I being charged for every single tennis ball? Because that's what I have to multiply. If I buy 1 tennis ball, how much will it cost? If I buy 5 tennis balls, I need to multiply by the cost of each ball times 5. So when I look back at my problem, I see that the cost of each pack of balls is $4. So that's why I'm making that 4X, because it's $4 times every pack of tennis ball, and X is a pack of tennis balls. So finally, I'm going to look to find, is there anything being added or subtracted to or from my variable and my coefficient, or this term here. In this case, I need to add the amount of the tennis racket that they're purchasing, because they're definitely buying the racket, and then they're going to spend the rest of their money on the packs of tennis balls. So I want to make sure that I have written here my $21. And I know in class we talked a lot about if we were buying shoes or clothes or socks, to put this in a real life scenario. So hopefully you can go back to your notes and look at those if you need to, if this does not make sense. So with that said, the final step will be to write my inequality. The final step will be to decide what inequality symbol is going to go here. So what I want to do is I want to look at the total amount that Mary has to spend is $72. If she's going to the store, let's say she goes to Academy Sports or Play It Again Sports or wherever you shop, and she's buying the racket and tennis balls, can this side, can she spend more than or less than $72? I don't know about you, but if I walk into a store with $72, I know I have to spend less than that. I cannot spend more than $72 because they're not giving it to me if I try to. So this needs to be less than that. My inequality symbol indicates that. If you're still not sure about inequality symbols, you've got to go back and make sure that you've mastered that. So just a quick review, the small side of my inequality symbol is pointing towards the smaller side. The bigger side of my inequality symbol, or like you probably learned in elementary school, the alligator is eating the bigger number. Okay, the final thing, this side can be less than that. Could it also be equal? Could I go up to the cash register and pay, and they tell me that I owe exactly $72? They could. I'm going to pull $72 out of my pocket. So the amount of my tennis balls and racket could equal 72. So that's why my sign would be less than or equal to 72. My next step, they want me to write it, so I just wrote it. Next, I'm going to solve. So I know my students, we learned to do the inverse operation. I know Miss Handler, Miss Moss, I think you guys did jump the line, change the sign. Either way, it's still the same process, just different ways your teachers have taught you to do it in terms of a little rhyme or whatever. So I always want to start with the addition or subtraction first. So I want to subtract 21 from both sides. If I'm jumping the line and changing the sign, it will look like that. So positive 21 minus 21, those cancel because that gives me 0. I don't need to include that when I rewrite my equation or my inequality. 72 minus 21 will give me 51. And then my final step, to get x by itself, I need to divide by 4. So that leaves me with x is less than or equal to, where's my calculator? Sorry, 51 divided by 4 will give me 12.75. So I solved this properly. So that means that the number of tennis ball packages must be less than or equal to 12.75. Now we get to another piece of tricky business. Most stores, if you go to Academy Sports, you can't walk up to the register and say, I want to buy 12.75 or 12 3/4 packages of tennis balls. They're going to look at you like you're crazy. You can't open a pack of tennis balls and only buy 3 out of the package instead of 4. So if you can't afford, or you don't have enough money to buy a full 13 packages, you're only going to be able to buy 12 packages. So when I graph this inequality, I want to make sure that I'm graphing it to reflect that they can only purchase, that Mary can only buy 12 packages of tennis balls. So when I graph this, your number line does not have to look exactly like mine. I'm doing it very simple. It can look like mine. Or you can draw a big, long, fancy line that includes 0 to 12, whatever you want. I typically will include the number that I'm starting with. So I draw my number line here, zoomed in, like on your iPhone, if you're zooming into just that part of your number line. And I want to show that the number of tennis balls can be less than or equal to 12. So since it's less than or equal to, my dot should be shaded, because it's shaded because I'm shading in over the 12, and it needs to be less than, so I'm going to shade all the numbers and the direction of my number line in the less than direction. So that's showing that anything less than 12 would be the amount of tennis ball packages that she can purchase. So I know this is difficult for you, but if you go through the process that I have laid out there for you, find the total, find the variable, find the coefficient, what's being added or subtracted, then you're solving just like an equation to get your answer. And then I think you guys are a-okay on graphing. So I know this one's a little long. Thanks for sticking it out with me. And if you still don't get it, watch it again. Also, I don't know what number in the review, but there is another inequality problem that I've included on there. So make sure you go through and watch that one also. So thanks again.